right, everyone, welcome. This is Michael with Church Brand Guide, and right now I'm going to be sharing with you some ideas on getting brand clarity. I think coming into a new season of the church and church life after the COVID-19 shutdown, churches are going to need to be really clear about the brand that you are. So when I say brand, it's the vision. I really mean the vision. Like, what is the vision that you have for people at the church? And how do you communicate that vision in a very clear and concise way? So people say that I want to be a part of that. So in this conversation today, we're going to be looking at some questions, 23 questions that I lead my clients through whenever I work through a rebranding process with them. And it just helps them to think through who they are as a church and who they are as a brand as we get that out there. So let's jump into our topic today. And my name is Michael. I'm with Church Brand Guide. Church Brand Guide is where I'm able to serve as your virtual communications director and really to help you become your church's brand expert. I want to help you turn strangers into contributors so you can steward your resources well. You can say yes to the right things. And ultimately, you see more guests showing up, more life change taking place, and more people contributing to the vision that God has given you. We've got a process here that we go through just to help you get brand clarity. We believe that clarity is just a really great tool for people to say, I want to be part of what you're doing. So we're going to go through this process today. We're going to be looking at actually getting clear. So number one, getting clear. How do we get clear about the vision that God has given to us? So I've got these 23 questions that I use, again, for every client that I work with, where they come and they're like, hey, we need a new brand. We need to figure out who we are and represent that well to the community. These are the exact same questions that I'm using to help them go through the process and unpack who they are. The problem that I find is that the vision of most churches is not really clear to the person on the outside. If you've ever been on the outside of something, you probably know what I mean. If you're not a musician and you hang out with a musician, they've got some language, some things they do that you just don't understand completely. If you hang around with somebody that's in the military, if you weren't in the military, there's some things that you don't understand. Same thing with IT. The people that are in the IT industry or IT department at your company, they might speak a language that you don't quite understand. Or the medical community. There's all these different things where if you're not a part of it, you don't quite understand it. Well, the same is true about church. And there's a lot of people that just don't understand what church is and what the vision of your church is. In fact, Andy Stanley once wrote in one of his books that just when you feel tired of saying the vision of your church, that's when somebody's getting it for the first time. So you just have to keep on sharing it. So that's so very true. And you have to be very intentional and clear about the vision to get it out there. But most churches aren't really clear. So the idea of building a brand is something that I feel like helps churches to be clear about who they are so that ultimately you can get the right marketing in place to then draw people into your brand. You can get the right experiences in place to help people take some next steps and ultimately leading them to come to the church and become a contributor to the vision that God has given you. And that's really what the win is. Can they contribute with their time, their finances, their talents to help the vision of the church advance? So we're going to take a look at these questions. I'm going to go kind of fast, but I'll unpack the questions so that you're able to maybe get some clarity about what each question means. There are 5 areas of a brand identity, or I guess creating a brand or brand clarity. The first area is brand identity. The second is brand strategy. The third is brand voice. The fourth, brand visuals. And the fifth, brand execution. So we're going to walk through the questions that help to get the right answers for each of these areas. So before we do, this is what we're working towards. I want to show you kind of the end result. This is a logo design for Journey Church that we came up with. And it's just through brand clarity, we understood, getting brand clarity, we understood that Journey is a church that has a vision to lead people in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area to find a direction in life, a purpose in life. It's a church that inspires people. It's a church that is very vibrant in its style and how it leads. It's the audience they're trying to reach are a bunch of outdoorsmen who are very active in the outdoors, up in the north. So they have this identity of who they are. And as Journey Church, we want to create an identity that connects with them, that helps them understand that there is a journey that they're on, and that there's a guide through Journey Church that can help them get to the end results. The end results might be having a great career, a great marriage, being a great parent, something along those lines. And then Journey Church is there to help them achieve that. So this is the logo. It just unpacks these two. Just to unpack it really quickly, there's a couple of arrows, one pointing up, one pointing down, just showing the sense of direction, and the sense of we look up, God looks down, so to speak. I guess that's kind of the spiritual idea, that we can look up to a God that loves us. But in the middle, there's this little path that forms the letter N. And the idea of the North Star is kind of a big concept within the Minnesota community. So we were kind of hinting at that a little bit. Now, you're never going to see all those ideas all played out when you look at the logo. When somebody looks at the logo for the first time, they're just going to know, oh, that feels right. And that's what we want. We just wanted people to know that, hey, this feels right. Not that they understand completely where the design came from, but it just feels right to the brand. And the reason why we can know that is because of the questions that we ask to help get that brand clarity. So let's jump into these questions. First question, what do you ask people to do? What is the mission that you're on? What is the mission that you're leading people on? What do you ask? What do you do? I'm sorry, I can't read this right now. Why do you do what you do as a church? So there's a lot of do's in there. So this is your purpose, the why behind why your church exists. You have to have the why in place. You have to communicate that why so that the mission makes sense. So as they're asking people to do things, like the mission is what you do right now in the moment, day to day, to help you understand and achieve the why. Now, the vision is something that we want to unpack as well. And it says this, the question is this, what do you as a church hope to create? So this is the future tense. What are you working towards? What's the future? That's the vision. So those are some really key questions, some really big questions that will help you really think through that. And when people go through this process, typically there's a team of 5 or so that goes through this, 5 key leaders, maybe 8 key leaders in the church that can help you go through this process and define these questions. As we continue with the brand identity, we're going to ask, what values guide your organization and decision making? So what are the values that you have as a church that help to guide? So there might be little statements that we just need to unpack what those values are. A lot of times a church has values, but the people don't know what the values are. So we need to be able to know what those things are and possibly put those on display, maybe up on the walls or up in the screens. What is the end result you have for someone that attends your church? So this is the question when somebody shows up at your front door on a Sunday morning for the first time. Like, what's the end result that you have for them? What does that look like? And I do want to take a moment to unpack this brand guide. This is a brand document. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Actually, let me pull it up. There's a brand document that I want to show you for a church that we worked with called Legacy Church. And Legacy Church was a great example of a church that wants to reach out to multi-generations. They want to reach out to the young generations, the middle, and then the older generation, and have everyone just feel like this is a place for them. And so the idea of Legacy Church, they even just changed their name to Legacy Church to kind of lean into that brand even more. So we created a brand guide after asking these questions. And the brand guide really helps to provide some clarity so that Legacy Church moving forward has all these things in one place so that they're able to reference it as they make decisions moving forward when it comes to their marketing. A lot of times church marketing is very unfocused, but by having a lot of these questions in place, you can see that it'll provide some clarity and some focus to the brand. So this is our brand guide, and you see the same categories here. And then as we continue down through it, this is our brand identity. We're just writing a script by answering these questions. We're plugging in some information so that we're completing this brand journey. When somebody does show up at the front door for the first time, what is it that we want for them? And we're just making those questions available so that we can answer them and provide a brand journey, which looks kind of like this. And I've unpacked this before in some different videos. But what are the steps that we have for them? What's the end result? A good example is that at our church, the end result is to get somebody onto a serve team. If they've gone through our process, the end result is that they are serving in the local church. So that's the end result. It's not on a spiritual side, it's not saying much, but on a practical side, there's a lot of things that have happened for them to get to that position. So it means that we are doing what we want to do. What are the 3 to 5 steps we have to get them to the end results? So again, 3 to 5 steps. What is step 1? And where do we go from that? So let me unpack step 1 in this process right here for Legacy Church. Is going to be to know God. Step 2, find freedom. Step 3, discover purpose. And step 4, make a difference. So this is from the ARC network of churches, Church of the Highlands. We're borrowing this concept from them. It's a really powerful concept that I would recommend, or doing something similar to that. Who are we good at reaching? Where when they come to our church, it makes them feel that our church is made just for them. So that's a big idea. You're really good at reaching a certain type of person, and we just want to tap into who that is. We'll get into strategy here. What does your church do better than anyone else? So what is the unique thing that you offer that is better than what anybody else offers? And it doesn't have to be in competition with any like other churches. It's just, how do you serve people in a way that's unique? It could be that you serve your city and single moms in your city better than anybody else in the world. Like you can narrow it down as fine as you need to make it, to answer this question really well. And I feel like every church has something that they can say, man, we're probably the best in the world at doing this. Here's another question. What values and beliefs unify your staff and your volunteers and drives their performance? It's another value question. So we want to put some language up. We want to put that on display. So it's not just hidden in the minds of a few people, but we can put those things on display. A lot of times I like to put them on walls and on big banners, so that, or on the website, so that those values are something that people can see. It's not hidden. List all the programs that allow you to do ministry. So based on your vision, like what are the programs that you have in place? And we just want to know what those are so we can document them. Maybe through that process, you find out there's some programs that really aren't useful and help you accomplish the vision. Well, that's good too. Or we need to add a program or two to help us accomplish the vision. So we just want to take inventory. This question is, why was your church created? So this is a big one. Why was your church created? Like, let's go back to the beginning and the vision that God gave you and the purpose he gave you in the very beginning. And let's make sure that we're on point. Doesn't mean we have to stick to it, but it does mean that we should at least be aware of it. Why was this church created originally? And let's see where we are now. Your brand voice. This is the third category. What are some words? Let me go back there. What are some words that describe the personality of your church? What are some words? So there could be just a list of words that are very just open-ended. So let me show you a page on this branding guide where we're just throwing out some words. Friendly, caring, family, adaptable, welcoming, truthful, optimistic, loving, fun, strategic. So these are just words that describe the personality of the church. So if your church was a person, like what would they be? Would they be fun, We just want to describe that. Good brands have a personality. Voice. What voice are? Um, what should the tone be when we express our message? So what is the voice? Like, what does the tone look like? And again, this could be, we're just thinking through this so that as we write articles or taglines or headlines, that we have a voice that's consistent. Let's move on to the next. This is the fourth category, our brand visuals. If you could be anything in the future, what would it be? So we're just working towards the future tense. And if you're saying, hey, we're going to have a school in the future, then maybe we build a brand out that is more fitting for that. If you're saying, hey, we want to open coffee houses in the future, and that's kind of where we're headed, then we might do a brand that's a little bit more hipster or trendy so that it maybe leans more towards that. Why would someone who is unchurched want to attend your church? So that's a big question. Why would they want to, somebody from the outside, why would they want to come in? So we want to create a brand that attracts people that are outside the church. If you think about it, in the marketplace, that's what companies do. They create packaging that is attractive to people that haven't bought their products before. It's attractive not to the executive of the company, but it's attractive to the customers. And so we just want to say, take a look at that. Why would somebody who's unchurched want to come to our church? And so we can make some decisions on colors and fonts and styles that help to connect those dots. If you could communicate a single message about your church, what would it be? It's a big one. That's and often times that's a tagline. But it could be, for now, you could just kind of work through that, and it could be a long, clunky sentence, and that's okay. At least you have some clarity about what is it that the church is all about. Brand visuals. How do you measure success? Like, that's a big one. That's one of those, you put it on the table, and everybody sits around and thinks really long and hard about that one. How do we measure success? Is it the number of salvations? Is it how many people are tithing? What is that? What is that number? Number of baptisms? People in small groups? People in unserved teams? Like, what is it that we do to measure success? Another question on the brand visual side is, what are the potential barriers to our success? So we just want to know some trends that would block our success. So maybe you meet in a school. Well, if the school isn't available, that would be a barrier to your success. We just want to know kind of what some of the things are. So as we build a brand, we can build something that is going to be on track, so that we aren't going to run into any issues if something does happen that derails what's going on. So, for example, my church, Vibrant Church, is in a school, and if we lost the school, that'd be a big deal. So we've built it so we have mobile graphics that we could put up in any environment if we ever had to move. So we're just able to look ahead a little bit and design something from the beginning that can work in just about any environment. So another thing with brand visuals, what are the trends and changes that affect your church? Trends and changes. So right now, as I'm recording this, COVID-19 is a big deal. So being in quarantine affects our church. So how do we build a brand that works online? Like, if we can't meet, we're able to get together. So we're able to still have church online. So let me show you a little bit of the brand visuals of this branding document, so you begin to see where we're headed with it. So this starts the section of the brand visuals. If you're watching this on the screen, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. We're defining colors. We're defining the logo and the various uses of the logo. We're also defining the fonts and how do we use that. So these are the visuals of the brand, where we lock them down so we can create a very consistent feel. All right, here's the final section, the brand execution. What other churches do you admire most and why? A lot of times we can get some ideas of a church that is a few steps ahead of you and be able to build towards that, so that we don't have to start from ground zero. Here's question number 2. What non-church brands do you admire most and why? So we can learn a lot from different companies and how they present their brand. So we just want to know what are some companies that maybe appeal to you. So for example, I like to ask a lot of times, what car best represents your church? So if you said Land Rover, well, that gives me a lot of ideas of what a Land Rover is. It's off-road, but it's luxury. Um, if you said something like a Honda Civic, well, it's fairly inexpensive, reliable. Maybe a younger person would get a Honda Civic. So it kind of gives me a lot of things to work with as I begin to connect some dots with some companies. And brand execution, where will you be in 3 years? So we want to make sure we're building ahead so that we're not going to be too trendy for what's going on right now. So that we build a brand that is lasting, that's going to help you get to that next level, that next phase. So again, I'm going to jump over to the branding guide and show you what the brand execution starts to look like. This is some graphic design styles that we're defining. This is how we design graphics to represent our brand. This is the graphic design techniques that we're going to be using. Also, we have a photography guide. These are the types of photos we're going to be using to define our brand. So again, on this brand execution side of it, by answering these questions, we're able to get that clarity to then define the brand as we move forward for the next 3 years. And then the final question in our questionnaire is, how do you market your church? So we just need to know if you're heavy on social media, we need to design a brand that is going to be reliable for you and work for you on social media. If you're social media and you do like postcard mailers and you're on, I don't know, TV, we just want to make sure that the branding works on all 3 areas really well and is scalable to work really well on the various marketing outlets that you have. So a brand is really just defining who you are as a church. The brand it sets up the marketing piece. But getting brand clarity is just taking the time to discover fully who you are, answering the right questions, asking some hard questions, getting clarity about it, so then it can fuel the marketing and point the marketing in the right direction. So the marketing is the experience that people have. The brand is the identity that is your church. I want to make sure that you understand a couple things. So Church Brand Guide is where I serve as your virtual communications director. And I just give you some tips such as this questionnaire. I have a coaching membership that takes this more deeply. So if you'd like to jump into that and really learn how to build a brand for your church, a very authentic and genuine brand that fuels your marketing, helps you know the right things to do in your marketing, then I'd love to guide you through that process in our membership. Just go to churchbrandguide.com, and on there you'll see a tab that says membership. Sign up for that membership. It's a monthly fee. It's very low cost, and it'll help you out a great deal to shape your church marketing by first focusing on the brand you're creating, helping you just get that clarity first. So that way you're doing the right things, and you're doing the things that help people ultimately get to the point where they start contributing. It's not just about increasing attendance. It's about how do you get people to show up and then contribute on the back end and be a part of what's going on. In the membership, I'll have these questions available for you guys that are members. So make sure you check that out in your membership area. So you can get all these questions. And if you need to go through it with your team, I would encourage you to do that. We also have other resources in our membership that include photos of some different churches and environments. So make sure you check that out, and it's growing all the time. So check out that membership. And thanks for joining me on the Church Brand Guide today. My name is Michael Persad, and I will see you guys next time.